the maintenance director for the Boone County Board of Education at this time when he entered into a scheme that allegedly defrauded, the Boone County Board of Education out of approximately $3.4 million. I want to remind everyone today that an indictment contained merely accusations of wrongdoing and that Mr. Barker is entitled to his presumption of innocence until and unless these allegations are proven beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. It's been a practice of mine since I've taken to this office not to a substantial amount of public money that's allegedly involved and affecting school children. I think it's my job to make the public aware of this indictment and arrest. Going a bit of facts of the case or the allegations behind the case. Barker was a maintenance director at Boone County Schools and was responsible for ordering supplies necessary for the maintenance of Boone County Schools. Barker allegedly falsified documents showing that the Boone County Board of Education was receiving large amounts of janitorial and custodial products, including hand soap, trash can liners, and face masks from Rush Enterprises, a Kentucky business with an office in Canova, West Virginia. However, even though these large amounts were ordered, only small amounts were actually ever received by the Boone County Board of Education. Rush Enterprises was operated by a gentleman named Jesse Marks, who is named as an unindicted co-conspirator in the indictment. Barker and Marks conspired to overbill the Boone County Board of Education for the undelivered products and split the proceeds from the fraudulent scheme between themselves. Barker allegedly personally received approximately $2 million as a result of the fraudulent scheme and then used his share of the proceeds to make extravagant purchases for his personal benefit. From at least March 2020 through or in about December of 2023, Barker, Marks, and other persons conspired to commit this mail fraud as part of this scheme. They completed fraudulent invoices and purchase orders that were then submitted by Barker and caused the Boone County Board of Education to send a series of checks through the United States Mail to Rush Enterprises. There, Mr. Marks deposited these checks into his business and wrote checks to the account to himself, cashed those checks at multiple banks, and then met Barker at various places to deliver his share of proceeds from the fraudulent scheme with cash. The Boone County Board of Education obviously received federal funds for the time period in the indictment. Barker used and laundered these proceeds. There's allegations that he purchased with 1 count of conspiracy to commit mail fraud, 11 counts of mail fraud, 3 counts of theft concerning programs receiving federal funds, and 3 counts of money laundering. If convicted, Barker faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison for the conspiracy count and each mail fraud account, and up to 10 years in prison for each theft and money laundering account. The federal district judge will actually determine these sentences if Mr. Barker is ultimately convicted of any of these charges. Pay attention to the date, March 2020. We're not alleging COVID fraud. That's a separate charge, but March 2020, I don't think I have to remind a lot of people what was going on at this time. Boone County Schools were facing significant challenges at this time. They were lots of budgetary issues. I mean, that's probably better for the Boone County to comment on. But the fact that we had a board employee, in fact, a maintenance director, who was using scheme to siphon millions of dollars away from school children, I'll leave it at that. Once again, that's an allegation, not a fact. Anybody who's been to a press conference of mine will understand one of, I think, the most valuable things we do in this office is teamwork. And a lot of teamwork was given. I want to give some shout outs to this. Not only did my office work on this, and they'll generally remain nameless, but there was some really good investigators worked on that. The FBI and its Charleston Complex Financial Crimes Task Force worked very hard. Investigations worked on this. West Virginia State Police worked very hard on this. We were also provided assistance by the West Virginia Department of Education. We also had a wonderful investigator from the West Virginia State's Auditor's Office who was working in their Public Integrity and Fraud Unit, worked on this case. This was a team effort. This was a case that's been worked on this office for quite some time. This one hits close to home, so I've been paying attention to this one quite a bit, and I know we've been working over a year on this matter. I'd now like to introduce our current state auditor, Mr. J.B. McCuskey, and I think he has a few remarks.
So if you guys didn't realize, the U.S. Attorney and I get to work together a lot. And public integrity and fraud has been a benchmark for our office for the 8 years that we've been there. And the things that we've learned than one person could ever find. And teamwork is the absolute name of the game. And also it is a nonpartisan issue. This is an area when you're dealing with the public's money, and I say this all the time, that the government doesn't make money. The government takes your money and spends it on your behalf. And when people betray that trust, it's a problem that is much larger than simple theft. It's a problem that ends with the erosion of public confidence in what we do, public confidence in government. And I am so thankful that Attorney General, U.S. Attorney Thompson has really taken a lead in working with us and a lead in this country in fighting public corruption and fraud. Our office was so pleased to be able to help with this. Like I say frequently, these are not fun press conferences to have. We're not patting ourselves on the back, right? We are doing what we're supposed to be doing to protect the public treasury. And in this instance, these allegations are incredibly serious. As we know, we have enormous budgetary problems within the state, especially as it relates to our school systems. And so even a little bit of money is a huge problem, and this is not a little bit of money that's been alleged. So we will continue to work with the U.S. Attorney and continue to work with our partners at the State Board of Education to make sure that the systems that we have in place are improved as a result of these allegations. We have the ability to find these things faster. We have the ability to do better audits. We have the ability to make these press conferences have smaller alleged numbers in front of us. And we are constantly working to make sure that that happens. And again, it should be noted that the public is an incredible asset in these cases. If you see fraud, call one of us. It is an anonymous complaint, and we can't do our jobs without 1.8 million auditors out in West Virginia making sure that you're holding the rest of your government accountable. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Mr. McCuskey.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I'd now like to introduce Supervisory Special Agent Tony Rouse with the FBI. FBI has been very instrumental in this case.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So this is an investigation that began in November of 20 prosecution. It's egregious, right? What was stolen, what was taken is egregious. And every year, students show up at Boone County and other counties across this state, and teachers are essentially begging parents and students to bring in supplies, paper towels, hand sanitizers, markers, you name it. And all you guys out there have seen this before, right? We're crushed on budget, fiscally very tight, and here's somebody now walking away with over $3 million worth of fraud. When the FBI received this complaint, and luckily we received this complaint internally from the Department of Ed and from the Auditor's Office, which is what we hope for, our Complex Financial Crimes Task Force here in Charleston was set up about 2.5 years ago. This is one of our first big wins. There are several major public corruption and fraud cases under works at current times. But this is a great victory, I think, for all the players involved. It's unfortunate that it had to happen at all, but here we are. And I think Mr. Barker will certainly answer for his crime shortly. So, thank you.
All right. I'll now open it up to questions with the understanding I can't answer a lot because this is a case that's going to be tried. So don't be shocked if a lot of the questions you ask, I can't give answers yet because I do want to make sure Mr. Barker is entitled to the fair trial that he deserves.
I have a two-part question.
Okay.
Michael Barker, or rather Jesse Marks. Yes, he was named in the indictment quite a few times, but not indicted. What was the reasoning for that? And my second question is, will Boone County have to pay back the federal government for any of the alleged COVID money that was stolen?
Great questions. With respect to Mr. Marks, I'm going to say stay tuned. Okay. I'm not going to answer any further than that. With respect to whether or not the Boone County Board of Education needs to pay back, I think that's a question better addressed to them. Okay. Other questions?
I don't know if you can answer this. How did y'all find this out? How did y'all start working on this?
Teamwork. There was, I don't like to use the term whistleblower, but there were some people that were concerned. Yes, that's one of the reasons I do want the Department of Education here is they didn't necessarily investigate the case, but they've been very cooperative in letting us know there's an issue here.
The numbers jumped off the page on the spreadsheets, right? There was enough hand sanitizer to sanitize most of the planet. So.
Yes.
That's what I was going to say. There were supposed to be like 5,000 cases, and there were only 800 and something. I mean, were they kind of noticing there wasn't space, that much hand sanitizer taking up that much space?
We actually looked at warehouse space was one of our investigative tools. They would not have had the capacity to hold this amount.
You mentioned COVID and talking about face mask protection. I understand sanitizer. Do you think part of the reason we're going to be susceptible to this is because of those early days of COVID, everyone needed so much hand sanitizer, needed those protective products?
I think that's a good assumption. I mean, I don't know if it's something we can necessarily prove or would need to prove. I think
Checks and balances put in place during COVID were loosened up tremendously across the board, and that opens up a lot of potential for fraud.
yes. I think when history books talk about the COVID pandemic, fraud is going to be several chapters in that book. Okay. Other questions?
Have there been, you mentioned the loosening of restrictions. Have there been any changes coming from the State Board of Ed on how boards of ed should do their accounting to make sure something like this doesn't happen again?
Would you want to address that?
Yes, we follow not only the federal government monitoring process, but we have the audit process set up through the Department of Education, and we've taken a hard look at that, and we are doing a lot more closer examination and strengthening that, and that's also been a direction of our State Board of Education.
Other questions?
Has this made you all look into any other counties where this could have happened? I know there was a lot of money flowing at that time.
I'm going to use the standard DOJ line as we don't comment on whether or not there's any additional investigations, whether they exist or not. Anything else?
What type of message are you trying to send to the public now with this 18-count indictment coming forward and all the allegations set forth in it?
That we take fraud very seriously, that we wish to hold people accountable. Anything else? I want to thank you all for being here. Like I said, this, as J.B. McCuskey said, it's not a fun event by any stretch of the imagination, but I think this is a very important event. And stealing public money, especially from school children who are struggling. In my prior role as a judge and in my role as a father, I've seen the struggles our children face in the school system, and this one's a hard one to watch. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Nice meeting you. You're from Lincoln County, aren't you? Or were in Lincoln?
I'm originally from here in Charleston.
Okay, okay.
I graduated from Hoover and then was at St. Albans for 14 years as an administrator.
Okay.
Almost 3 years.
Okay.
So,
Good deal.